Hello everyone, if you're new to my channel, consider liking and subscribing. It will make me feel wonderful if you do that. Thanks. By the way, I also have another Naruto and Luffy fanfiction channel. If you are interested, link is in the description.
Memories by Keke XP. Watch me become king of the pirates, Shanks. What if Monkey D. Luffy had a Den Mushi with him that recorded his experiences as he goes through life as a pirate and makes new friends? Huge shout out to all the warlords of this channel. You know who you are. Want to stand among legends? Join the channel membership and show your support. Adios.
Oi, Shanks, Yasop, Ace, Minna. Look at me. Monkey D. Luffy stuck his face into the recorder. A large smile on his silly face. Guess what? Come on, guess. The rubber man tilted his head to the side and frowned when no one responded. How come you guys aren't responding? Oh wait, you haven't seen this yet. She. Luffy was on a tiny dinghy, having just left his small village hours ago, setting sail to become the king of the pirates. The skies behind him were a light blue and the ocean below him was deep abyss of bluish-greenish colors with a tiny fish flying to the surface here and there. I've set sail. She. I'm gonna become king of the pirates and there's nothing you can do about that, Shanks. He pointed the camera upward then downward before he leaned back in the small dinghy and smiled his idiotic smile. I don't have a pirate crew yet, but I'll gather one soon. Just you watch. Woa. Luffy yelped in surprise before smiling at the fact that the waters around him were now spinning and that the boat was going around in circles. Looks like we'll have to continue this conversation later. Click. Ooh, Luffy-san, are you sure about this? Yeah, don't sweat it, Cody. It's Kobe. What was that about meat? I didn't say anything about meat. Luffy laughed and Kobe managed a small smile. The pink-haired boy didn't exactly understand why Luffy was recording this but figured that the rubberman was going to send this to someone back home. Still, he didn't get why he had to be included in the video too. The last thing he wanted was to be seen in the same video as a pirate when he wanted so badly to be on the Navy. Hey Shanks. This is my new Nakama Kobe. I'd ask him to join my crew, but he's too weak. She. Kobe's sweat dropped. You're brutally honest. And anyway, I'd never want to be in a pirate crew anyway. Kobe took the camera from Luffy and clenched one of his fists, suddenly gaining confidence. I want to be in the Navy someday. I really do. Catching bad guys is my dream. He sighed, adjusting his large blue glasses. But I am forever thankful for Luffy. He saved me from that horrible pirate Alvida-sama. Alvida. Luffy wrapped an arm around Kobe's shoulder and smiled, holding up two fingers. Kobe wants to be a marine. So one day we'll be enemies. Kobe deadpanned. Oi, are you really gonna take this so lightly? And are you really serious about who you want to recruit next? I mean, think about it. Luffy groaned. Thinking hurts. Eep. Don't think too hard. But this is Roronoa Zoro we're talking about. He's like a demon. The spawn of the devil himself. All the more reason why he should join my pirate crew. Oi Shanks. Roronoa Zoro is gonna be my first mate. He's strong. Just watch me become king of the pirates. Click. Ooh, Minna. I told you I would get Zoro to join my crew. Luffy held the Den Mushi to Roronoa Zoro, who was taking a drink from the wooden cup he had in his hand. The pirate hunter raised an eyebrow at the Den Mushi, setting his drink down on the table, but shrugged. Yeah, I'll be a part of your pirate crew. Oi, why are you recording this? So that Shanks and everyone can see for themselves all the adventures I have been on and all the new friends that I make. Your friends will see it too. Yeah, Zoro burped softly. Well, to whoever is watching this, you best look out. This man, Luffy, is no ordinary pirate. He's strong, and I'm strong too. The former pirate hunter smirked, narrowing his eyes. You're looking at the future greatest swordsman. Rika stood on a chair and pushed Zoro's face out of the way, waving cheerily at the camera. Hi Luffy's friends. My name is Rika. Luffy's totally gonna be Pirate King. He's so cool, he took down Captain Morgan of the Marines. Isn't that amazing? The little girl smiled brightly. Even though he's a bit thick-headed. Oi, move it, Zoro groaned, trying to pry her tiny hand off of his face. Both of them are pretty thick-headed, Kobe muttered, rubbing the back of his neck. Honestly, he had never met a person as extraordinary and simple-minded as Monkey D. Luffy. Luffy-san, close the camera. Rika's mother warned him. Mari. Click. Ooh, I'm so hungry. I need food. Luffy groaned, leaning over the side of the dinghy with his tongue sticking out of his mouth. Maybe if you hadn't devoured all the food in one day we wouldn't be this hungry. Zoro pointed out, yawning loudly. I'm sure we'll find food sometime soon. So who else is a part of this pirate crew? It's just me and you for now. The Straw Hat Boy replied casually, although Zoro saw nothing casual about it. He stared into the face of the Den Den Mushi with an exasperated look. Just what have I gotten myself into? Zoro, look. A bird. Bird means meat. Meat. Zoro, real meat. I can already taste that delicious meat. Luffy stood up with a look of determination in his black eyes. I'm gonna go get us some food. Watch the ship. Say what now? Gum gum. Luffy focused on his target before letting both his arms grab onto the back of the ship. He gave the Den Den Mushi a bold smile before he exclaimed, "Rocket," and flew towards the sky. Zoro watched in wonder before gazing down at the camera. If you're wondering about Kobe's whereabouts, we left him at the island. He's training with the Marines now. Zoro snorted. As if he could ever actually beat us. His expression softened momentarily. Well, Kuina, I didn't think that I would ever become a pirate, but somehow I know that this was the right choice. He sighed. I'll help Luffy become Pirate King. And I'll become the best swordsman in the world on the way. Click. Ooh, schmanks. Luffy said with his mouth full of food. He smiled at the Den Den Mushi before he directed its attention towards his red-haired female companion. This is Nami, she's a thief. How rude. Nami frowned, staring into the camera with her eyebrows arched. I only steal from pirates, so what are you going on about? But a thief's a thief. Luffy pointed out after swallowing his food. He then let out a loud burp and sighed in content. Yum. Well, whatever. I don't care about what you think. My goal is to get 100 million berries no matter how long it takes. What do you need that much for? Nami placed her heeled shoe onto Luffy's face. Her brown eyes narrowed. That's enough questions out of you. Why are you taping this anyway? So that Shanks and Minna can see all the adventures I have and all the new nakama that I make. Shanks. The female scratched her head. Who the hell was Shanks? Okay, well, this needs to be turned off because I don't trust you. Nami reached forward and, despite Luffy's shouts of displeasure, turned it off. Click. Oh, Nami stuck her tongue out at the camera, standing behind a tied-up Monkey D. Luffy. Luffy was wearing the same idiotic smile he always had on. Hey everyone, Nami said she'd join my crew as the navigator if I did one little favor for her, isn't that great? Nami rolled her eyes. She couldn't believe how idiotic this wannabe pirate was, but shrugged it off, seeing this as her chance. Yup, that's right, Luffy, hey. She winked at the camera. What a sucker. Click. Nami directed the Den Den Mushi towards the wreckage that was once a house. There was wood all over the place and smoke was rising up and spreading in the air. Sitting in the middle of it all was the swordsman himself, Roronoa Zoro. He rubbed his head and yawned loudly. What a strange way to wake a person up. Nami then turned the camcorder towards her face, her expression showing that of exasperation. How the hell did he survive that? No, seriously, just how is he able to wake up like that? She, Luffy chuckled. This has gotten to be a lot of fun. There's nothing fun about it, Nami snapped, pushing her fist against his face. Is it still morning time? Zoro blinked. Nami began walking, holding the camcorder up to her face. I swear I'm always hanging out with the stupidest of the stupid. Click. I've got 2 members of my crew now. Isn't that awesome, Minna? Luffy grinned and pointed the camcorder upwards. There was the Jolly Roger for Captain Buggy blowing harshly in the wind. We stole this small boat from some guy named Buggy. He says that you and him used to butt heads as enemies, Shanks. She. You guys sure are boneheads. Nami commented, crossing her arms. She was seated on a small boat beside them and her treasure bags were seated close to her, with her weapon in her hand, as if she were afraid that the two would steal the bags the first chance they got. Luffy ignored her comment and brought his hat up to the Den Den Mushi. Nami fixed my hat for me. Luffy waved the hat happily. See? She's nice even if she can be scary sometimes. Oi Luffy. Zoro yawned. You're too loud. I'm trying to sleep. I think you've had more than enough sleep, Nami deadpanned. Click. Red hair. Luffy zoomed in on Nami's red hair, only to receive a smack to the head. Green hair. Luffy zoomed in on Zoro's unique green hair and the swordsman continued to snore away, a large bubble being protruded from his left nostril. And black hair. Luffy zoomed in on his own jet black locks before letting out a loud chuckle and falling back onto the boat. We're a strange crew, huh? You're the strange one, Luffy, Nami remarked, reaching over and pulling at his rubber face. We may have unique hair colors, but you have a unique and idiotic personality. Click. We have arrived at yet another island. Luffy hopped out of the small boat, putting on his usual idiotic smile. It feels great to be off the boat again. It would feel even greater if we had some food to eat, Nami sarcastically commented, crossing her arms over her chest and glowering at the Straw Hat Boy. Oi, I told you. Eh? Luffy looked up at a high cliff and noticed 4 faces staring down at him, their mouths agape. Who are they? Eek! One of the boys yelled. They spotted us, another one cried. 3 of the 4 boys took off running, leaving behind one exasperated male. Oi! He pointed down at the group. Don't you take any further steps into this village. I am Usopp, the man who is the leader of the 800 pirates in this village. I've faced many a villain and I've managed to face tons of sea kings. By now, the man's legs and arms were shaking and beads of sweat were running down his face. If you don't turn back now, I'll kill you where you stand. I'll kill you so hard that you will be dead. Nami's sweat dropped. Is he for real? Probably, Luffy replied, picking at his nose. Click. Usopp. Look who I have here with me. Luffy talked with chunks of meat in his mouth. He was seated in a booth inside of a small cafe with his friends all around him. It's Usopp. Hey. Usopp smiled faintly. I never expected to meet someone with actual connections to my father. Oi Luffy. Nami frowned. Don't talk with your mouth full, it's disturbing. I need more sake. Zoro stated, his eyes narrowing as he stared at the empty cup. This won't do at all. We need to spend more money on sake. Like hell we will, Nami replied, her eyes turning red and her teeth becoming fanged out. Check it out Usopp. Luffy zoomed in on Usopp's long nose. He's got a really long nose. I wonder how many boogers come out of it. Usopp firmly smacked Luffy on the head with his hand. Oi, plenty of boogers come out of it. Click. Usopp pointed the camcorder towards a blonde-haired woman with large dark eyes and pale skin. She was giggling loudly, a hand clasped over her mouth to keep the giggles in. Kaya, no need to hide your laughter. I'm sorry Usopp. She smiled widely. I guess it just feels strange to be recorded, that's all. Usopp was currently sitting on a tree branch, outside of the large mansion his friend Kaya lived in. He had just finished telling her the tale of how he fought a gigantic goldfish when he suddenly had the idea to pull out the den mushi that had accidentally fallen into his satchel so that he could record this moment. Usopp grinned. Hey. My old man will probably see this one day. So go ahead and laugh. I know it makes you feel better. He made sure that the snail was directly facing the woman before he spoke once again. This woman is my dear friend Kaya. At his words Kaya blushed and shyly waved at the camera. Kaya is currently sick, but she still knows how to smile and laugh. She's very strong in my opinion. Usopp is strong too, she added, clasping her hands together. He's fought dozens of things, from sea monsters to giant sharks. And he apparently has 800 men working alongside him. Kaya. Usopp scratched the back of his neck, blushing faintly. 1, 2, 3, Usopp blinked and looked down to see who was counting and for what reason. What he saw shocked him, and he managed to catch glimpses of each person's face as they literally flew over the tree branch he was sitting in and onto the ground below. Zoro was the first face he saw, and the male swordsman appeared to be yawning. Next came Ninjin and Tamanegi, Carrot and Onion, who had their arms wrapped around each other and were screaming loudly. After them was Nami, who was hugging herself and practically screeching her eyes tightly shut. Last came Luffy and Paimon. Pepper, with Luffy smiling widely and Paimon with his arms wrapped around Luffy's neck with an expression of utter fear. There was complete silence for a few seconds before Luffy finally sat up, a crooked smile on his face. That was fun. Let's do it again. Hell no. Everyone shouted in unison, each of them giving Luffy a hard smack. Click. Usopp. Kaya bit her lower lip in an attempt to keep tears from spilling from her large, dark, eyes. Her long blonde hair was a mess and she had a small cut above her left cheek. She was visibly shaking, her breaths coming at a fast pace, as if she just got the surprise of a lifetime. To say that she looked and felt like a mess was an understatement. In her lap lay her bloodied and beat-up servant, Mary. The man had a large wound on his chest, the blood seeking out of it at a profound pace. His eyes were only half-lidded, his hand resting on a soon-to-be scar on his head, and he looked as if he was barely holding on to life. Usopp. Kaya tried again, staring at the camera with desperate eyes. Why, you really are a brave man. And I can't believe that I ever doubted you. I can't believe that I stopped trusting you. The blonde-haired beauty sniffed and took in a deep, shaky breath before exhaling slowly. I was so scared, Usopp. I thought you were just lying so that you could kidnap me. I thought that you would actually betray our friendship by hurting me. When you grabbed my hand and looked me in the eye, I should have known that you weren't lying. Kaya couldn't stop the tears from running down her cheeks, nor did she want to. She couldn't keep a bit of snot from dripping out of her nose, even if it was rather unladylike. But everything that you said was true, Usopp. Everything you said about Kuro was true. You tried to warn me. You tried to keep me out of harm's reach. You tried to save me. And Mary too. She ran her fingers through Mary's curly white locks, a sad smile on her tearful face. And it is only now that I realize that I'm the one who betrayed the trust of our friendship. Miss Kaya. Mary whispered, taking her small hand in his quivering large one. Kaya gave his hand a light squeeze, before directing her attention towards the Den Mushi. Usopp. You and your nakama. All of you are trying so desperately to fight for me. And to fight for this village. Usopp. Kaya squeaked, suddenly feeling as if her heart clenched. It was then that she poured her emotions into her words. I'm sorry for ever doubting you. For accusing you. For betraying you. She sniffed loudly. And thank you for saving me. Thank you to your friends who are probably fighting alongside you. Thank you for trying to save Mary. Thank you for protecting this village. You say that your father may be watching this, right? She let go of Mary's hand and wiped her red eyes. She stared into the camcorder with a determined twinkle in her eyes. Well, Usopp's father. You have an amazing and courageous son. You should be proud of him. I'm going to make things right, Usopp. I will. Click. Ha ha ha. Hey Shanks. Luffy smiled widely. I dunno how I lost it, but I'm glad that I got it back, Nami. Luffy frowned when the orange-haired woman took the Den Mushi from him and pointed it away from Luffy and towards her and Zoro. No one wants to look at a recording of you with food all over your face. The three were, once again, sitting in a small booth inside a small cafe-like restaurant. Nami and Zoro sported a few new cuts and bruises, but were overall fine. It was obvious to whoever was viewing that the trio must have been through a lot on this day. Oi! Zoro placed his elbow onto the table and put his cheek into the palm of his hand. We've had our meal. And we've done all we need to do, so should we get going? Nay, you're right, Zoro. Luffy stretched before leaning back in his seat. Wait. Zoro frowned deeply. I just need one more cup of sake, or 5. You're gonna die from alcohol poisoning one day. Nami stated, rolling her eyes but smiling nonetheless. Stupid. Who are you calling stupid? Zoro glared at her and Nami, in return, stuck out her tongue at him. The stupidest one at this table, of course. That would be this one. Zoro replied, pulling at Luffy's rubber cheeks. But even I have to admit that he's a genius when it comes to battles. Oh, I've finally found you all. The boys, and Nami with the camcorder turned to see Kaya walk in with a bright smile on her pretty pale face. Hello, everyone. Ah, Miss Kaya. Nami smiled at her tall female companion. What brings you to us? Yeah, aren't you sick or something? Zoro added, putting his elbow onto his bent knee. Oh, don't worry about me. She waved her hand. Usopp-san has encouraged me enough. Anyhow, I heard that you guys were looking for a ship. Yeah, we need a ship, since we are pirates after all, Luffy exclaimed. He might as well tell the whole world, Nami muttered, facepalming. Well, as thanks for saving the village, I have a ship prepared for all of you. Would you like to set sail on it? Kaya laughed lightly at each of their excited faces. She would take their eager expressions as a yes. Click. Wow, we're gonna have lots of adventures on this ship. A caravel. It's so big, hey. Luffy, Zoro, and Nami, the trio, stood before a large ship that was currently docked. Zoro held the camcorder up high, as he was the tallest of the trio, and made sure that the camera saw most of the ship. This is a ship I designed all on my own, Mary stated, a proud smile on his goat-like face. He looked to be in a better condition than when he was lying on the floor in a pool of his own blood. I call this ship the Going Merry. The Going Merry. Nami laughed to herself. I love it. Yash, we can really have this ship, Kaya? Luffy smiled at her, trying to contain his excitement, especially when the young blonde-haired woman nodded in response. Yes, I insist. You all deserve it. Well, we finally have a ship. We'll no longer be traveling on that tiny rowboat, Zoro commented, scratching his head. Thank goodness. Nami added. That was really uncomfortable. Now, let me explain how it works. Mary gave the camcorder a warm smile before turning towards Luffy and beginning to explain how to maneuver the large ship. Luffy nodded his head as if he understood what Mary was saying. Oi, he doesn't understand anything, so stop trying to explain it to him, Nami deadpanned. I have everything you guys might need on board this ship, so don't worry, Kaya added, giggling slightly. Wah, Am I the only one who hears that? Zoro muttered, turning himself and the Den Mushi around in the direction in which the noise came from. Nope, I hear it too, Nami stated, exhaling loudly. Stop. Somebody stop me please. And rolling down the hill at an increasingly fast pace was long-nosed Usopp himself. On his back was what appeared to be a large packing bag, which seemed to be the reason why he was rolling down the hill. Usopp-san, Kaya gasped. What is he doing? Mary inquired, staring at him strangely. That actually looks like fun, Luffy commented, crossing his arms over his chest and letting out a loud laugh. Like hell it does, Nami snapped, her teeth becoming fanged out. Go stop him, or else he'll hit the ship. You too, Zoro. Geez, you're too damn bossy. Zoro complained as he handed her the Den Mushi and stood beside Luffy. You should really work on that. Says the alcoholic. The two men waited as Usopp approached, and once the long-nosed male was in front of them they both simply placed their left feet onto his face, ultimately stopping him from going any further. Thanks, Usopp rasped. No problem, the two replied in unison. Click. So you're really heading out to sea, Usopp-san? Kaya asked. Yeah, of course, I'm gonna become a brave warrior of the sea, Kaya. It's my dream, Usopp replied, leaning against his large bag. And when I come back I can tell you all about all the adventures I have been on and all the challenges that I faced. The blonde-haired beauty laughed behind her hand. Okay, Usopp-san. Anyway. Usopp smiled at the Den Mushi. This is goodbye to that camcorder and to you guys. Thanks again for helping me save my village, Luffy. Maybe one day we'll meet on the dangerous seas. The hell are you going? Crossing his arms. Hurry up and get on board. Yeah, come on, Usopp. Nami leaned against the railing beside Luffy. We don't have all day. You're our nakama now, right? Luffy more so stated than asked. And come on, the Den Mushi is about to shut off. Usopp stared up at the trio. Nami was giving him a closed-eyed smile, and Zoro was standing there with his arms crossed over his chest and with a hint of a smirk on his face. And finally there was Luffy, who was giving him the biggest and most idiotic grin he had ever seen. These were the people who had helped him save his village. They were the people who stepped in and fought to the best of their ability in order to protect what he cherished the most. They were the people who were offering to help him fulfill his dream of becoming a brave warrior of the sea. They were his new nakama. The long-nosed male laughed a little, before he jumped onto the ship with a grin of his own. Does this mean I get to be captain? No way, Luffy frowned childishly. I'm the captain. But I'm brave Captain Usopp. Nope. I'm the king of the pirates, Monkey D. Luffy. Click. To our new ship, Nami shouted, raising her drink up. To my new friends, Usopp yelled, holding up his own drink. To sake. Delicious sake. Nature's freshest water. Zoro called out, holding his drink to his lips. And to the many adventures ahead of us, shi, Luffy concluded, smiling that idiotic smile. Yeah, click. Belmere-san. Nami smiled widely at the camcorder. This is my temporary room. It's so much fun being on this ship, even if all of them are pretty idiotic. The woman sat on her small bed, pushing strands of her tangerines-colored hair behind her ear. I've nearly reached my goal, and one day peace will be restored to our village, I just know it. I've got my lucky skirt. She zoomed in on her orange skirt. My trusty boots, she zoomed in on her reddish-brown boots. And my amazing staff, she finished, zooming in on her long brown staff. Plus my bags of treasure. The woman sighed, scratching her neck lightly. It's silly for me to talk into this camcorder and think that you will see it one day, but Luffy and the others don't seem to care, so I guess I don't care either. Nay, Belmere-san. Aren't all pirates supposed to be vicious and merciless? Luffy and the others are nothing like him. Nami shrugged then, closing her large brown eyes. I just hope that in the end everything turns out to be okay. I'm about 7 million belly away from my goal. Just 7 more Belmere-san, Nijiko. Click. Minna, come quick. Look, Luffy yelled before giving the camcorder one of his famous smiles. I've got our Jolly Roger done. Everyone came up from wherever they were on the ship, each wearing different expressions but all very excited until they saw what Luffy had drawn on the flag. Usopp took the Den Den Mushi from Luffy and held it so that it had a clear view of Luffy's horrible creation. Shouldn't a pirate flag have a more death-like appearance? Zoro inquired, tilting his head to the side. It certainly scares me, Nami commented, crossing her arms under her small bust. What kind of artwork is that, Luffy? Usopp stated. But don't worry you guys. Usopp turned the camera towards himself and flashed a brave smile. Captain Usopp. We'll fix this flag, it'll look marvelous once I'm done with it. Oi, I told you. I'm the captain, click. There we go, here's my amazing artwork. Usopp said, holding up the pirate flag only to reveal that it now had a long nose, a slingshot, and a daring smirk. Nami facepalmed, wondering if she should just turn the camera off so it wouldn't have to suffer from having to stare at the idiotic creation. You completely changed the symbol, Zoro and Luffy yelled in unison, both men giving him a smack on the head. Click. Now this looks a lot better, Nami smiled at the drawing. A pirate skull with a wide smile and a straw hat. It suited the captain perfectly. Woohoo! Nice job Usopp. Luffy fist pumped, smiling widely at the Jolly Roger. See this Shanks? I really am well on my way to becoming the king of the pirates. It looks much better than the old one, Zoro commented. Well of course it looks better. Usopp smirked and puffed out his chest. I painted thousands of walls with artwork greater than this. Even the most famous of the most famous have heard rumors of me, the great and oh so mighty Usopp. Oi! Anyway, with this Jolly Roger and this new ship. Usopp sighed happily. We're ready for the many adventures that are sure to come our way. Click. Zoro smirked at the camcorder, before tilting it down so that it showed a sleeping Nami. The woman was curled up beside the ship's main mast, laying flat on her back with her head right next to it. She would most likely bang her against it if she wasn't careful when she woke up. Zoro slowly stood up, his smirk widening and a finger to his lips as if he were telling the Den Den Mushi to stay quiet. He began to tiptoe away from the sleeping cat thief. When he was at least a few feet away from her sleeping form he took in a deep breath and exhaled slowly. I see treasure, he shouted, and in an instant the cat burglar was awake. She sat up quickly, her eyes changing into Bailey's, but unfortunately she hit her head against the mast of the ship which resulted in her gaining a large bump on her head. Ouch! She groaned in disbelief. What the hell? She slowly looked up and growled at Zoro's quickly retreating figure. Zoro! She screamed, scrambling to stand up so that she could give the swordsman a piece of her mind. Zoro burst into laughter, quickly taking off so that she wouldn't catch up to him. This is just payback for when she left me in a puddle of oil, slippery oil. Click. Yosh! Luffy cheered as he fired the cannon, only to frown seconds later. Oh, it didn't go through. Oi Luffy! Usopp walked up the steps and towards his captain, his hands crossed over his chest. What are you doing? I'm testing out our cannon. I want to make good use of it, he sighed. But I can't get it to fire well. Well, let me try, Usopp stated, placing the Den Den Mushi onto the railing and flashing another infamous smile. Where should I aim? Try aiming for that rock, Luffy replied, pointing towards the large rock sitting in the middle of the water. Alright. Judging by the distance between the target and here, this should do it. Fire, Usopp yelled as he fired the cannon. The cannonball shot out of it at a fast rate and hit the mark dead on. Woo-ah! You hit it on your first shot, Luffy openly gaped at his beaming friend. Of course I did. I am the great and powerful Usopp. What do ya think, Usopp? Luffy waved at the Den Den Mushi. Usopp could probably be a better sniper than you. Oi Luffy. Usopp deadpanned. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. But I've already decided it. Luffy crossed his arms and gave him a closed-eye smile. You will be our sniper, Usopp. Click. Alright, so do we all agree that we should get a cook before heading to the Grand Line? Zoro asked, rubbing the large bump protruding from his head. The swordsman still hadn't gotten it to stop swelling after the only female aboard the boat continuously smacked him. Yes, Nami replied, a satisfied smile on her face. Yeah, Usopp added. Yes, and a musician, Luffy added, only to receive a smack to the head by the ever-so-patient Nami. Why do you want a musician so badly? She asked him, placing her hands onto her hips. Because pirates sing, right? Luffy tenderly nursed the bump on his head. And they dance and they have awesome parties, so he should too. Luffy. Nami deadpanned. You, come out and fight us, you damn pirates. Nani? Nami blinked and felt a chill run up her spine. Did you guys hear that? There was a loud noise, as if someone was smashing everything outside the boat. We're going to slaughter you all. What the? Nami bit her lip. Minna, go see who it is. Why do we have to do it and not you, Nami? Usopp frowned at her. Because I said so. There was more crashing and the sounds of something being broken caused Luffy to drop his drink and run out of the small kitchen and onto the deck, with a shaking Usopp and a sighing Zoro following behind him. Nami looked down at the camera and heaved a loud sigh. Everything about this crew and the captain just spells trouble. Click. So it's really you, Johnny? Zoro grinned. It's good to see you again. Zoro, big brother, it's always a pleasure to be in your company, Johnny sighed. The black-haired male had a lot of cuts across his cheeks and a split lip, but was overall in a healthy condition. Sorry about the cuts by the way. Luffy scratched his head, smiling sheepishly. You were trying to destroy the ship so I had to kick your ass real quick. Zoro set the Den Den Mushi onto the ground before turning to speak to Johnny once again. What's with Yosaku? He gestured to the male lying beside Johnny with dried up blood on his stomach. Johnny's face took on a grave expression. He's sick. Sick, sick. Johnny confirmed. He was doing well up until a few days ago. A few days ago? Luffy and Usopp stated in unison. Yeah, he began passing out more often. Passing out? Usopp blinked. His teeth began to fall out. His teeth? Luffy stuck his hand into his own mouth, trying to feel for his own rubber teeth. And his old wounds have reopened. Are reopened? Usopp shuddered. I just don't know what to do anymore. Johnny ran a hand through his jet black locks. I was trying to get him to rest by some nearby rocks, but all of a sudden a cannonball was shot at us. Luffy and Usopp blanched before standing up and bowing lowly. We are very sorry for that. It's fine. What's done is done. Johnny sighed and looked down at his barely breathing companion, Yosaku and Johnny. Our names could cause even the bravest of pirated to shake in their pants. Is this how it's all gonna end? Luffy and Usopp whimpered, fake tears cascading down their cheeks. Such a brave man. Luffy cried. A true warrior for being able to accept his friend's death. Usopp sobbed. Even Zoro looked a little surprised. Gosh, just how stupid can any of you get? Nami snapped. Her coffee-colored brown eyes narrowed, her hands on her hips. Are you kidding me right now? What did you just say? Zoro clenched his fists and glared at the petite girl. Lady, I cannot allow you to go free if you continue to make such a mockery over my partner. Nami chose to ignore them, instead turning to Usopp and Luffy some limes in the kitchen. Squeeze the juice out and bring it here quickly. Alright. Luffy and Usopp ran off to do what Nami instructed them to do. On the way, Luffy picked up the Den Den Mushi and turned it off. Click. Kuro impression. Luffy kept his back to the Den Den Mushi for a few seconds before turning around again. His hair slicked back and the 5 grapes on his fingers being the closest thing he had to Kuro's claws. His expression was very stern, his mouth set in a firm line. I am going to be the best pirate in the world, but first I must be a butler for 16 years. Usopp laughed loudly, slapping his hand onto the table. That's the best impression ever. The long-nosed male was laughing so hard that he didn't notice the half-squeezed lime sitting in the middle of the table. He accidentally slapped his hand onto the lime juice squirting out and hitting Luffy right in the eye. The pirate captain froze before he yelped loudly and clutched his eye. Usopp, he yelled, flailing his arms. It's in my eye, get it out, it burns. How am I supposed to get it out? Usopp, he whined. The rubber man placed a hand onto the table to steady himself, but only managed to slam his hand onto the lime. The lime once again squirted juice, this time landing in Usopp's eyes. Ouch, he yelped, clamping his hands over his eyes, it burns. I told you, how do we get it out? I don't know. Luffy began to run in circles around the table, his hands clamped over his eyes. Get it out, get it out, get it out, get it you. Oi Luffy, Nami called. Usopp, have you finished squeezing the lime juice? Usopp and Luffy glanced over at each other with wide eyes. Maybe? A flash of white light was the only thing that could be seen before a smiling Nami was seen peering into a small bottle of squeezed lime juice. This should be enough, Nami stated. Come on guys. Let's go give this to Yosaku. Okay. Luffy and Usopp muttered. Their faces large and swollen due much that they probably didn't even recognize themselves. Click. So apparently Zoro used to be friends with those 2 pirate hunters. Usopp told the Den Den Mushi as he pointed towards Yosaku and Johnny, who were hugging each other in relief. There's just no way that you could have recovered so soon, Nami shouted, her teeth becoming fanged out as she jabbed Yosaku in the chest with her finger. I'm all charged up on nutrients, Yosaku cried, completely ignoring the navigator. Oi, sorry for the late introductions. Johnny took the Den Den Mushi from Usopp and gave it a dashing smirk. I'm Johnny. The name's Yosaku, Yosaku added, putting on a cool facade. And the 2 of us are famous bounty hunters, Johnny finished. Nami took the camcorder from the male, rolling her eyes in the process. Apparently it's normal to let pirate bounty hunters talk freely to pirates. Don't worry big sis, there's no way that we'll hurt you guys. Not after you saved my life. Yosaku grinned. Besides, who would have thought that the famous pirate hunter Roronoa Zoro became a pirate him's blurg? Yosaku coughed up a little blood before collapsing onto the ground. Yosaku! Johnny cried, kneeling beside him. Oi, just get some rest already, Zoro deadpanned. Nami sighed and put a hand on her hip. Let this be a lesson to the rest of ya. This is one of the many dangers we will face on our voyage, Zoro stated. He would have died for sure, had they not come across us, Usopp bluntly said. Understand? The 3 of them looked at their captain, Luffy? The rubber man picked his nose, his head tilted to the side. Huh? What's that? Meat? What are we gonna do with you? Nami pulled on his cheek. I seriously wonder how your nervous system functions. I'm hungry, he suddenly stated. Aren't you guys? As if on cue, Zoro and Usopp's stomachs began to rumble. The 2 men nodded slowly. Yeah. Me. Too. Yosaku stated from his position on the ground. You keep quiet. Nami snapped at him. Bro, Johnny raised his hand. If you're looking for a place to eat then I know a place, it's a restaurant on the seas. A restaurant on the seas? Yeah. It's close to the Grand Line though, so we would have to be care. Minna. Let's head there straight away, Luffy shouted. Full. Johnny deadpanned. Click. Let's introduce the crew, Nami stated, smiling at the Den Den Mushi. Here's Long Nose. She zoomed in on Usopp, who was walking out of the bathroom. Oi, he said, sweat dropping. Why am I only known as Long Nose? Here's Scary Face. I'd never want to wake up to that face. She zoomed in on Zoro, who was lazily leaning against the railing of the ship. Shut up, he muttered, rolling his eyes. Here's two bounty hunters who are traveling with pirates for the time being. Nami deadpanned, zooming in on a sleeping Yosaku and a half-asleep Johnny. And here's idiotic rubber man. Nami zoomed in on Luffy, who was perched on the Going Merry's head. The rubber man turned and gave the camera a big smile. You mean Monkey D. Luffy, the king of the pirates, he responded cheekily. Yeah sure. Nami turned the camcorder back to her. That. Click. Minna. Come look quickly, Johnny shouted. Brother Luffy, Brother Zoro, Brother Usopp, Brother Nami. We have arrived at the sea restaurant. Nani? Usopp blinked, looking up. Eh? Zoro yawned loudly. So cool. Luffy quickly stood up and ran to the railing of the ship, dragging an annoyed Nami with the Den Den Mushi behind him. Why am I, brother, she mumbled, pouting and glaring at the ground. I'm not a brother. I'm a woman. Nonetheless, the petite woman placed the camcorder beside her on the railing so that it also had a clear view of the sea restaurant. What do you think, everyone? Johnny asked, smiling widely. Cool, right? Wow. Nami cried, staring at the large ship titled Restaurant Barati. It looks so huge. I can already taste the delicious meat. Luffy's stomach growled at his words. Yum. Yeah, I agree Luffy. It sounds dee-dee-da. What is that? Usopp pointed to the ship that was coming up beside the Going Merry, his legs shaking. Is that a marine ship? Nami squeaked, her face turning a ghostly white. And sure enough there was a large ship coming up beside the pirates. The word, marine, painted on the flag and across the side of the boat. What are they doing here? Zoro inquired, his hand resting on the sheath of his sword. Look, someone's coming out. Yosaku coughed before he and Johnny dove to hide behind a few barrels. Nami picked up the Den Den Mushi and held it close to her, the snail still recording everything. A tall man with short, light pink hair emerged from the marine ship. He had a laid-back demeanor, but the scar on his cheek and the tightly clenched iron-like fist said otherwise. Pirates, he muttered. I am Lieutenant of Navy Headquarters, and I am known as Iron Fist Full Body. His eyes roamed over each of the people aboard the pirate ship, lingering on Zoro for a second longer than the rest. Who is the captain of this ship? Me. Luffy stepped forward. I'm Luffy. Usopp also stepped forward, his arms crossed over his chest. And I'm Usopp, he firmly stated. Well, Full Body began, only to pause as he thoughtfully stared at Yosaku and Johnny. You two look familiar. Ah yes. I know you. If I remember correctly. You are two small-time pirate hunters. And it looks as if you have caught more pirates, right? This doesn't look too good for us. Nami whispered to the Den Den Mushi. Oi, Yosaku. Johnny crossed his arms over his chest, his face showing that of seriousness. I think this guy is pulling at our legs by calling us small-time bounty hunters, don't you think? I hope they don't do anything idiotic. Nami whispered to the Den Den Mushi once again. Well, we can't just sit around and take that insult. Yosaku replied. This won't earn us any money, but we're gonna have to teach this guy a lesson. Because they are smart enough to not go up against the Marines, right? Nami asked herself and the snail. Ready? Johnny reached for his sword. Ready? Yosaku grinned. Together, the two men lunged forward with their swords in their hands in an attempt to land a hit on Iron Fist Full Body. Are they that idiotic? Nami shouted, her teeth becoming fanged out. No seriously, am I the only sane one? Click. Guys, they are aiming at us, Usopp frantically shouted. We're in some really deep trouble now. Sorry about that, bro. Yosaku weakly chuckled from his position on the ground. He was nursing some new wounds. We didn't expect a lieutenant to be that strong. Are you that idiotic? Usopp and Nami shouted in unison. Johnny collapsed beside him, spilling papers all around him. Nami kneeled beside him, setting the Den Den Mushi beside her. Johnny, what are these? Oh, those are bounty posters, Johnny replied. Nami picked up one and instantly froze, her face becoming pale and that of pure terror. The navigator clenched the wanted poster in her hands, momentarily forgetting that she was on camera. Is something the matter? Minna! Usopp yelled. We gotta move. The cannons are aimed straight at us. As soon as those words left his mouth, a cannonball was fired at the pirates. Leave it to me, Luffy yelled, standing atop the railing. Gomu Gomu no. Luffy, Usopp shouted. Oi, get down, Zoro called. Balloon. He shouted and his body stretched and became bigger, as if he were an actual balloon. The cannonball hit him in the middle of his inflated stomach. The cannonball flew back, only to fly forward and back towards the marine ship. Usopp, Johnny, and Yosaku stared at Luffy with wide eyes and open mouths. What? Nani, full body stared at the cannonball as it flew past him and straight towards the Baratie. Just where were you aiming, idiot? Zoro shouted, staring at everything in disbelief. Oh. Luffy frowned. That's not where I wanted it to go. Click. We should go check on Luffy. Usopp stated. I mean, he could be in there trying to pick a fight with that marine guy from earlier. Zoro. Yeah, let's you, me, and Nami go check. He glanced over at Johnny and Yosaku. We're taking the Den Den Mushi with us, so stay quiet for now, and watch Mary, got it? Yes, you can count on us, big bro, Johnny replied. Yeah, Yosaku grinned. Don't worry about a thing. Now I'm worried. Nami muttered. Click, hey chore boy. Usopp snickered, placing the Den Den Mushi on the table. Having fun? We heard that you have to work here for a year, as punishment for nearly destroying this ship, Nami stated, smiling widely. Should we go ahead and repaint the pirate flag? Zoro added, and all three burst into laughter. Oi, you guys. Luffy frowned. Here I am working, and you guys decide to take a break by eating delicious food. How selfish. You're one to talk. Usopp deadpanned. It's a free world, Nami said. We're free to eat however we want. Luffy pouted, digging in his nose. Eat this, he muttered, playing his booger inside a glass of water. Zoro's glass of water. Oi, he shouted. The swordsman stood up and grabbed Luffy by his neck. He then forced the glass to his lips and made him drink it. You drink this, all of it. Ack. Luffy choked. Zo. Do. FHYR. You voing this? I could ask you the same thing, Zoro retorted, not caring in the least that people were staring and that Nami and Usopp were having a fit of laughter. Ooh, I think I'm in love, a voice cried out, which drew the attention of all four pirates. A tall male with a curly eyebrow and blonde hair that covered half of his face breezed onto the scene, his hands clasped together. Oh, how blessed I feel, he cried. Thank you to the oceans, in which I am so very grateful for bringing me to he in the presence of such a beautiful woman on this fine day. The man took Nami's hand and his eyes, or rather the one eye everyone could see, became heart-shaped. As long as I can be with you, beautiful lady, I don't care what kind of path I have to cross, even if it's that if a pirate, but oh, he, dramatically, put the hand that wasn't holding Nami's hand over his chest. Alas, there is a burden, an obstacle that stands in the way of our love. By obstacle, a man with a missing leg and a tall hat leaned against the wall, his arms crossed over his chest. Do you mean me, Sanji? Sanji frowned. Oh, it's you. Damn old geezer. What are you going on about? The man rolled his eyes. Go be a pirate, you idiot cook. We don't need someone like you aboard this ship. TCH. Sanji rolled his own eyes. Whatever, chef. It's not like I care about your damned opinion of me anyway. Click. Oi, geezer. Sanji began, glaring at the old man. I'm the assistant head chef at this restaurant, right under you. What's this about me not being needed? You caused too much trouble, the chef replied, rolling his eyes. And as seen with red head here, you flirt with any woman you see. Nami deadpanned. Why am I, redhead, she muttered, placing her cheek into the palm of her hand. There's also the fact that you can't cook at all. Honestly, I've never seen a more horrible dish than all of yours. And I know that you know all the cooks at this restaurant absolutely despise you. He continued his blunt rant. Sanji rushed forward, his fists clenched and his eyes narrowed. Really? He grabbed Zeph by his shoulders, forcing him to stand up straight, and leveling him with a hard glare. My cooking is nowhere near as terrible as you say, ya geezer. And no matter what you say, there's no way that I'm leaving. Nami quickly looked at the Den Den Mushi, biting her lip. I'll turn this off for now. Click. Forgive me for that ruckus just now. Sanji stood behind Nami, placing a bowl of delicious-looking fruit in front of her. As an apology, Please enjoy this fruit Macedonia. Nami smiled widely, clasping her hands together. Thank you, you're so nice. Oh, it's nothing, Sanji replied with a sweet smile. Oi, Usopp said. That's not fair. Why don't you serve us some food? I should sue you for gender discrimination, you love cook? I already gave you some tea. You should say thank you for that small token, you punk, Sanji replied giving him a half-hearted glare. You wanna fight huh? Usopp puffed out his chest. I won't get easy on you, you ready for this? Zoro, beat him up. Zoro's sweat dropped. Hey, do it yourself. You didn't even eat your damn mushrooms. Sanji glared at Usopp's plate. You need to eat all of your food. I don't like mushrooms, love cook, Usopp replied getting into Sanji's face, and I won't be eating it. Please don't fight because of me, Nami stated, twirling a strand of her tangerine-colored hair around on her finger. I'd hate to get in the way of any friendship you two must share. Anything for you, Nami, Sanji replied, swooning at her words. No one was arguing over you. Usopp deadpanned, this guy is too lovesick. Sanji-kun, I'm afraid that this special treat is a little too expensive for me. Nami began, pouting slightly, so could you. It's free of charge, Nami swan, Sanji shouted, his eyes becoming hearts once again. The blonde-haired male turned away then, to go assist other customers. Nami winked at the Den Mushi and Zoro snorted, she's a real witch. Click. Tables were knocked over, plates broken and cups of beverages spilled. All was quiet, all was silent. Zoro casually turned the Den Mushi towards the great pirate Don Krieg, who was standing there with his arms crossed over his chest and a devilish smirk. The male gave off an aura that even Zoro could sort of feel, an aura that stated that this man was powerful, ruthless, and not someone you would not want to be your enemy. He was a dangerous man. Anyone could tell that just by looking at his overly muscular body and his villainous smirk. My goal, Don Krieg began, is to obtain Zeph's travel log. Once I have that, I'll reassemble my pirate crew, find the One Piece, and become the king of the pirates. No man or woman will stand in my way. Hold it right there, Luffy's usual happy-go-lucky smile was wiped off his face as he pointed his finger towards Don Krieg. There's no way that you will be Pirate King, that title goes to me. The beaten-up cooks around him gaped at the rubber man, some in awe and some face-palming at his stupidity. Did he really just say that? There's no way that any of us will be alive after this battle. Oi, choreboy. Stand down, I'm most definitely not standing down. Luffy firmly replied, especially not on this. Don Krieg tsked. What, keep dreaming, y'all little brat. I'm just stating the truth, Luffy simply replied. The male flowered at the rubber male. You think this is funny, squirt? No, oi Luffy. Zoro stated, and all eyes were on him and a shivering Usopp. You need any help? No, are these your crewmates? Don Krieg threw his head back and let out a loud, rambunctious laugh, narrowing his eyes as he glanced over in Zoro and Usopp's direction. Some pirate king you turned out to be. You don't even have a full-out crew. Look who's talking. Sanji snorted. What are you talking about? I've got two others as well, Luffy replied, holding up two fingers. Oi. Don't count me. Sanji deadpanned. Click. Zoro is in awe. Usopp told the Den Mushi. As is nearly every person in here. He pointed the camcorder towards an astounded Zoro before pointing it towards all the shocked cooks, and even Luffy seemed to be a bit unsettled. Don Krieg's fleet of about 500 pirate ships was destroyed by one man. Usopp went on. A true brave warrior of the sea. A man I will do battle with. Zoro cut in, giving the camcorder a hard glare. The swordsman was all business now. I will meet this man and I will do battle with him. The greatest swordsman in the world. A legend. A title in which I will one day steal from him. Zoro clenched his fists. Hawk eyes. I will defeat that man and become the greatest swordsman in the world. Click. I'm sorry. Nami began, biting her lower lip as she stared into the camcorder. But I have to do this. All around Nami sat 4 bags of treasure, and sitting on the ground next to one bag was her long, brown, staff. I'm leaving this pirate crew, even though I wasn't officially a member in the first place. Nami frowned and glared at the Den Mushi. I hate most pirates. They're just a bunch of lowlifes who go around terrorizing innocent people. They take lives as if it's nothing. Nami's frown softened into a bitter smile. But this group of pirates, they are nothing like any other pirate crew I've met. Usopp is so bad at lying. But his stories always make me laugh. Zoro is a bit egotistical, but he's funny too in a weird way, and he's so strong. I would have liked to see what would happen if Sanji actually joined our crew. He seems like an interesting person. And Luffy. Nami sniffed then, her emotional barrier breaking and the tears freely falling down her cheeks. He's really a nice guy. I wish I could be there to help him become Pirate King. He's always going on about some promise he made to a friend of his. Shanks, was it? Nami shook her head, a bitter smile on her face. But I can't. I am bound by this terrible fate. She lifted up the sleeve of her shirt, only to reveal the horrid symbol of the Arlong pirates. The petite woman could practically feel the burning stare of the Den Den Mushi, as if whoever would watch this was already judging her. The tears fell faster now, and the wind picked up, blowing her tangerine locks into her eyes. I would be. She sniffed, staring at the Den Den Mushi with crocodile tears rolling down her cheeks and a bit of snot coming out of her nose. I would be happy if I were to meet them again. But I can't. I have to save everyone. I have to save Nijiko. They can't be Arlong's slaves for the rest of their lives. And while they may all hate me, I love them dearly. She closed her eyes and held back the urge to wail loudly. I just want to be free, click. Through the mist she could see it. A pair of golden yellow eyes, like that of a hawk. His eyelashes and the shape of his eyes even seemed like that of a hawk's. Nami found this very peculiar. The female had never seen such a peculiar sight. He was passing by her and the going merry inside of a candlelit boat, his legs crossed and arms over his chest. He seemed to be at ease, but Nami was no fool. This man radiated power. His eyes met her large brown ones and held them in his gaze for a second before she quickly turned back towards staring out at the ocean. And after his ship had fully passed by her, seemingly taking the fog with him, his hawk eyes left her back. Continuing with his journey. What the hell? What was that? Get down, Nani, Don Krieg. Our ship has been cut in half. The Den Den Mushi was seated on the table, alongside a panicking Usopp and a shocked Zoro. Even Luffy was in a slight state of shock. Oi! The rubberman shouted. What the hell is going on? Don Krieg stared at his underling with hard gray eyes. What the hell did you just say? There's no way that my ship has been cut in half? It's impossible? Luffy hopped off the table and raced towards the doors with wide eyes. Our ship is out there, and so are Nami, Yosaku, and Johnny. Zoro and Usopp ran after him, Usopp holding the Den Den Mushi in his arms. Raise the anchor, now, what are you waiting for? Could be heard as the three men burst through the doors and rushed towards the railing. Their ship was nowhere to be found, the sea was a chaotic mess, and Yosaku and Johnny were desperately swimming for their lives. Hey! Luffy yelled. Where's Nami? Where's the ship? About that. Johnny sputtered, fighting against the harsh current. You see, brother Luffy. Sister Nami took the ship, all the treasure, and left, Yosaku shrieked. What? Usopp cried, his hands pulling at his hair and his expression that of complete shock. What? Zoro growled, his teeth becoming fanged out. What? Luffy bellowed, his mouth falling open and his eyes widening considerably. Click. Bro. You should just let her go, Johnny cried. She can't be trusted, especially not after the stunt she just pulled, Yosaku added. Luffy crossed his arms over his chest. No, oi, Luffy. Zoro frowned. Let her go. No good would come after chasing a thief like her. Hold on a second, Usopp cut in. I could care less about getting Nami back. But we have to get that ship back. So I say we get the ship and just leave, problem solved. We'll find another navigator. No, Luffy firmly stated, and all eyes were soon turned towards their captain who had a serious facial expression. I want Nami, and Nami only, to be our navigator. No one else. Click. I can't believe it's actually him. Don Krieg. He's the man who destroyed all our ships. He's really here. He followed us all the way out here just to murder us all. Don Krieg stared at the man making his way towards the Bharati, his arrogant expression replaced with that of astonishment and a bit of fear. That Bastard. That's him all right. Chef Zeph stated, his arms crossed over his chest and his eyes narrowed into a hard glare. Hawkeyes. A renowned swordsman. The best swordsman in the world, to be exact. Beside him, Sanji lit up yet another cigarette, choosing not to voice any thoughts he had on the matter. Zoro was staring in shock as Hawkeye's Mihawk approached the ship. Beside him Usopp was noticeably trembling, which caused the Den Den Mushi to also shake. I don't see why you all are worried, Mihawk stated, still seated on his ship. I just came here to kill some time. That's bullshit, one of Krieg's crewmates shouted before he began his barrage of attacks on the famous swordsman. He fired at him with his guns. Each bullet easily reflected back towards him when Mihawk gracefully drew his sword and let the bullets hit it. It was as if there was absolutely no effort from him. All around them there were cries of disbelief. How did he reflect them so fast? He really is pretty strong. Oi! Zoro suddenly took a few steps forward. Did you really destroy that ship with just that sword? Yes. Mihawk replied, his golden yellow eyes turning to stare at Zoro. I figured as much. Zoro smirked. You really are the strongest. He put his hand onto his hip, ignoring the astounded stares he was receiving. I is that guy. There's just no way. I only know of one man who uses the three swords style technique. I set sail to meet you. Zoro went on, still staring at Mihawk. What is your purpose? To be the strongest. Zoro tied his black bandana onto his head, a dark gleam in his eyes. You said you're free, right? Then let's have a duel right now. It is him. No way, it's Roronoa Zoro? Roronoa Zoro? Don Krieg stared at the swordsman. The pirate hunter? Sanji's cigarette nearly fell from his mouth. That's him. Then what is he doing, hanging around a bunch of pirates? Oi, Zoro, Usopp yelled. Don't do it, we're gonna lose sight of Mary. Mihawk hopped onto the ship, just a few feet away from the green-haired swordsman. TCH. If you're a competent swordsman by any means, then I can demonstrate the clear difference in strength between you and I without having to cross blades at all. Does your bravery come from your conviction, or ignorance? Neither. It comes from ambition. The former pirate hunter placed his third sword into his mouth, and from a promise to a friend. Click. Zoro is losing. Usopp muttered in disbelief, watching his friend try his hardest to strike Mihawk only to be continuously knocked onto his feet. He's actually losing, and he's giving it all he's got. It was true. The swordsman was trying his hardest to land a hit on Mihawk, using all three of his swords in the process. But Mihawk was staring at him with bored yellow hues and his weapon was a small dagger. It was as if he wasn't even taking Zoro seriously. Something burdens you. Mihawk calmly spoke. What is it? Tell me, weakling. How dare you call our bro a weakling? Johnny and Yosaku shouted in unison, about to jump into the battle. But both men were pulled back by Luffy himself. Brother Luffy! Yosaku cried. What are you doing? You two stay put. Luffy replied, and the Den Den Mushi was able to catch the rare look of strain on the rubber male's face. Don't interfere, at all. Luffy. Usopp muttered, sighing loudly. The two men continued to fight, Zoro giving it his all and Mihawk looking as if he was ready to fall asleep. Everyone was staring, even the infamous Don Krieg. They were on the edges of their seats. And everything was seemingly fine, until Mihawk actually made a move. He jabbed his small dagger into Zoro's chest. Bro! Yosaku and Johnny shouted, both of them trying their hardest to not jump out there and do something to help their friend. Luffy was also restraining himself, clenching his teeth and hands. Zoro stopped moving altogether, his sword still in his mouth, though he was now coughing up small amounts of blood. Mihawk gave him a hard stare. Do you wish for me to pierce your heart? Are you that naive? Why do you not step back? HMPH. Like I have any clue. Zoro replied, and Mihawk's eyes widened a fraction of a centimeter. It's almost as if I can't. If I step back, it would feel as though if I took a step back I just may lose something important to me. A promise to a friend would be broken. This is your defeat. I know, that's why I cannot step back. Zoro. Usopp nervously bit his nails. He's gone crazy. They're all crazy. First Nami leaves, now this? Insanity? What is your name? Mihawk inquired, pulling the dagger out of Zoro's chest. Roronoa Zoro. I shall remember that name then. Mihawk stated, sheathing his small dagger, and taking his large sword out of its sheath. And to pay my respect to you, Roronoa Zoro, I shall end this battle with my black sword, the world's strongest sword. Zoro got into one last fighting stance, his eyes locked with Mihawk's. My last chance, Santoryu. Mihawk lunged at him then, his yellow eyes never leaving Zoro's own dark hues. Oh. Bro. Zoro. No, Gi. He bellowed, his swords creating a powerful gust of sharp wind that spiraled towards Mihawk at a fast rate. The green-haired swordsman flew forward then, slashed Mihawk, and skidded to a stop behind him. Only to discover he had a larger wound on his chest and that Mihawk was unscathed. Silence. No words were spoken, not even from the shaking Usopp. Widened eyes, dropped jaws, shaking legs, and astonished faces the Den Den Mushi was capturing every moment. Zoro's sword was broken. He turned towards Mihawk, a dark smile on his face. D on one's back is the shame of a swordsman, so do it. Splendid. Mihawk replied before raising his large sword and slashing Zoro's chest, drawing large amounts of blood. Zoro fell over, his eyelids closing and his body becoming limp. Zoro, my name is Dracule Mihawk, and it is too early for you to die. Roronoa, Zoro. Click. Why'd you turn Den Den back on? I thought it would help. It doesn't, stupid boy. Mihawk addressed Luffy. What do you aim for? Pirate King, tisk. A tough aim, harder than surpassing me. And, Luffy retorted, I'm still gonna do it, no matter what you or anyone else says. Luffy. Zoro muttered, weakly lifting his sword into the air. See, can you hear me? Ah, Zoro. Luffy nodded. Yes, sorry. For worrying you. I know that if I don't become the world's greatest swordsman, I'll only embarrass you. Stop talking. Usopp cried. Please, Zoro. Tears were no streaming down his face, his nose running and his face becoming wet with both tears and blood. So I swear, to you, I will never lose again, not until I meet him. And beat him? Any problems, future Pirate King? Luffy laughed his strange little laugh. Shi, nope. Oi, Yosaku. Turn the damn camcorder off, I don't need anybody else to see my tears. Click. Somewhere. Dracule Mihawk was spotted hanging around a bunch of pirates again. Why must this concern any of us? He is a warlord and free to do whatever he pleases, so long as he does not betray us. A tall man with short black hair and icy black eyes stated, arching an eyebrow. He was drinking from a tall glass of ice-cold water. The water being turned to ice by him. Besides, he's always hanging around pirates. He picks them off, however many he can. True. The male beside him nodded. You're correct, however, he did not pick off these pirates like he usually would. The man crossed to his long legs, the dark yellow of his suit contrasting with his white admiral coat. But you should watch these videos that our Den Den Mushi specialists have tracked. A bunch of new pirates have entered this era and are trying to make a name for themselves. Videos? The man with the cold glass of water in his hands raised an eyebrow. What is the name of the pirate in these videos? Luffy. Luffy, the icy male scratched his head. That name sort of sounds familiar. Who cares? A third male stated, crossing his legs and arms. His fists burned a dark red, as if they were made of molten lava, and his eyes also seemingly burned with anger. Just let them be. As long as the pirate doesn't enter the Grand Line and cause mayhem, he is of no importance to us. The man with the cold glass of water in his hands grunted in agreement. Yellow Suit shrugged. I suppose. Alabasta. Mihawk leaving a bunch of pirates like them to live, tch. He must be growing soft. A certain warlord blew on his cigar, his legs crossed in his hand. Hook. Resting on the armrest of his throne, they all seem like idiots. Red hair. Luffy, green hair, and black hair. We're a strange crew, huh? Oi, you're the strange one here. I dunno, Mr. Zero. The raven-haired beauty beside him chuckled. They seem like an interesting bunch, especially if even the great Dracule Mihawk let them live. You're gonna die from alcohol poisoning one day, stupid. Oi, who are you calling stupid? The stupidest one at this table, of course. Really, what was that idiotic warlord thinking? Mr. Zero blew on his cigar even more. Why didn't out transponder snails pick up anything of importance? All of these videos show nothing but how idiotic some pirates are and how weak they are. Watch them die before they even make it here, to the Grand Line, Miss Wednesday. Miss Wednesday chuckled. That may be the case. She tipped her hat down. But they seem like an amusing bunch. I'd hate to see them die so easily. Turn it off. Mr. Zero rolled his eyes. I don't want to see any more of this absurdity. As you wish, the mysterious raven-haired woman swiftly shut off the Den Den Mushi. Water 7. Ha ha ha. Are you guys watching this? Khalifa, come look at this. That's sexual harassment, Polly, but this is funny. Shouldn't a pirate flag have a more death-like appearance? Hey, it certainly scares me. What kind of artwork is that, Luffy? Polly, we should be getting back to work. The bird on a certain assassin's shoulder chirped. Iceberg-san won't be happy to hear that we are lacking on the job. I know. The blonde-haired male known as Polly replied. But I couldn't help it. The Den Den Mushi's tracked recordings of Mihawk with a bunch of rowdy pirates. And their videos are just hilarious. Alright, so do we all agree that we should get a cook before entering the Grand Line? Yes, and a musician, idiot, Polly. Just get back to work, Khalifa stated, pushing up her glasses. Keke Khalifa. How shameful of you to expose your long legs like that, shameful, cover them up. North Blue. Or somewhere hell I don't know. Look, Captain, Mihawk made an appearance in some recording. Shachi. How is this of importance to us? Who cares about what Mihawk does? Well, ya see. Shachi scratched his head as he set the Den Mushi down in front of his captain. Mihawk usually picks off pirates, mostly in the East Blue, right? Well, this time he led a group of pirates live. The captain of the ship raised a navy blue eyebrow. Really? Play the recording then? My name is Dracule Mihawk. Zoro, and I believe that it is too early. Zoro, get up, for you to die. He's losing too much blood. Roranoa, Zoro. Roranoa, Zoro? The pirate captain rested his cheek into the palm of his hand. The East Blue. The weakest sea in the world. And Mihawk chooses to let him live? I've set sail. She. I'm gonna be king of the pirates, and there's nothing you can do about that, Shanks. Interesting. The pirate smirked. Rookie mistake though. I'm the one who will become king of the pirates, not this Luffy kid. Shachi nodded in agreement. Yes, and we're all gonna help you become king. Here's Long Nose. Oi. Why am I only known as Long Nose? Here's Scary Face. I'd never want to wake up to that face, it's hideous. Oi. Shut up. And here are two bounty hunters, traveling with a bunch of pirates for the time being. Yo, nonetheless, he has interesting crewmates. That woman sure is pretty. A man with the word, penguin, written across his hat stated. His eyes turned to hearts, and he clasped his hands together. She's a real cutie. I wish she was here with us. Me too. Shachi added, his eyes also turning to hearts as he glanced at Nami. She has the smile of an angel. Their captain only chuckled. Tell Beppo to set sail for the next island. I'm bored with this one. Right away, Captain. Dressrosa. Ooh, I think I'm in love. Thank you to the oceans, in which I am so very grateful for bringing me to he in the presence of such a beautiful woman on this fine day. Oh, how blessed I feel. As long as I can be with you, beautiful lady, I don't care what kind of path I have to cross, even if it's that of a pirate. But oh, alas, there is a burden, an obstacle that stands in the way of our love. Mihawk really let such an idiot live. Tisk, I laugh. So do I, Baby 5. Such a thing is very ludicrous. Baby 5 chuckled, staring at the recordings the Den Den Mushi was relaying to her and her family. These kids are really funny. Sorry about the cuts, by the way. You were trying to destroy the ship, so I had to kick your ass real quick. That little brat, Luffy. Diamante smirked, crossing his arms. I bet he'd give Law a run for his money. Diamante. You are too generous. Ooh. There's the G, an old man shouted rather boisterously. Those kids probably won't make it past the Grand Line. there's the G. Whatever the case, a new voice suddenly spoke, silencing everyone around him. Yeah, I'll be a part of your pirate crew, but why are you recording this? So that Shanks and everyone can see for themselves all the adventures I have been on and all the new friends that I make. Your friends will see it too. Is that so? This, Luffy, seems to be connected to red-haired Shanks. The male smirked widely, his eyes hidden beneath his purple glasses. Or do you guys know of any other Shanks in this world? If he does somehow make it into the Grand Line. Hold it right there, there's no way that you'll ever become Pirate King. That title goes to me, and me only. We'd have to keep an eye on him, on the sea. Luffy, eh? What a strange name. Oi, Shanks, Usopp. Ace, Minna, look at me. Ace? Does this kid know Ace? Marco. Are you still watching that shit? Turn it off. This statement was followed by the large male taking a sip of alcohol from a large bowl. He sniffed, his strangely shaped white beard moving just a little. We don't have time for that crap. Ah, but Captain. Dracul Mahawk of the Seven Warlords let some pirates in the East Blue, the weakest sea in the world, live. Marco scratched his head. Not to mention the fact that one of the pirates he let live just stated Ace's name. And there are plenty of other idiots named Ace in the world. The ocean is a vast of questions out of you. Why are you taping this anyway? So that Shanks and Minna can see all the adventures I have and all the new nakama that I make. Shanks? Whitebeard raised an eyebrow. Shanks? Ah. Marco smirked. These kids are interesting. I think I see why Mahawk let them live. Especially that Luffy guy. He seems to know Shanks. HMPH. Whitebeard took another swig from his large alcohol bowl. I'll just remember him for later. Marco, set a course for the next island. And turn that Den Mushi off. Maiden Island. Sis, come look at what our Den Mushis have picked up. Usopp, it's in my eye. Get it out, it burns, how am I supposed to get it out? Usopp, Kya, now it's in my eyes. Marigold, who cares about a bunch of idiotic pirates like that? Her sister replied, flipping long locks of jet black hair over her shoulder. Besides, they are men. Men are worthless, savage, disgusting creatures. Marigold nodded in agreement. I agree with Ya Hancock, but look, Dracul Mahawk was spotted in one of the recordings. That's the reason why our Den Mushis picked up their signal. Mahawk? Boa Hancock raised an eyebrow. Really? It's true, sis. Sandersonia added. Look if you don't believe us. There's no need for me to look, Hancock replied, lifting her nose into the air. I don't want to watch men act like the idiots they are. Minna. Go see who it is. Why do we have to go and not you, Nami? Because I said so. There's a woman with them too? Hancock glared at Nami's shivering form. She must be out of her mind. She should realize that all they want to do is use her. It's really sad, huh? I feel bad for her, Marigold stated, having to travel with such savage beasts. Come quick, brother Usopp, brother Luffy, brother Zoro, brother Nami. Nani, cool, why am I brother? I'm not a brother, I'm a woman. Ladies, I feel bad for her too. But aren't you guys questioning Mahawk's motives here? Sandersonia asked. He let those kids live. And that is the weakest sea in the world. The East Blue. Why would he let weaklings like them live? I mean. Oh please, Sandersonia. Hancock cut in. Mahawk probably thought they weren't worth the kill. That Luffy kid says he'll become king of the pirates. Tisk. I laugh. I bet we'll never hear from even him again. Fishman Island. Hey. Monkey. D. Luffy. An old man with long silverish hair chuckled, pushing his glasses up. Reminds me of a certain someone. He closed his eyes then, a smile on his face. Mahawk. Good on ya. You let that boy and his crew live. That was a good decision. Or maybe it was a bad one. It could be a mixture of both. Boy. What do you aim for, Pirate King? Tisk. A tough aim, harder than surpassing me. And, I'm still gonna do it no matter what you or anyone else says. He's got a long way to go if he thinks he can take Roger's title of Pirate King. The old man smirked. But that kid. You can see it in his eyes. He has the will of Usopp. Luffy yelled, tossing the Den Mushi towards his long-nosed friend. Go on ahead, with Zoro, I'll be alright. Alright, Usopp yelled back, hastily catching the flying snail. Zoro and I will most definitely bring Nami back, so make sure the cook joins our crew. Zoro yawned, seemingly not caring that waves were crashing all around the small boat that he was laying in, and seemingly ignoring his beaten-up body. All of a sudden, I'm hungry. Luffy, Usopp called as he, Zoro, Johnny, and Yosaku were sailing away. Once we have 5 people in our crew, let's sail to the Grand Line. Luffy grinned, placing his hat atop his head and waving at his friends and the Den Mushi. Yeah, let's. Click. Yosaku stared at the Den Mushi in exasperation. I'm in quite the predicament, he stated, and indeed he was. The bounty hunter was halfway inside the mouth of a shark, and he was just barely holding on to the Den Mushi. The poor snail could only stare in surprise at the scene it was witnessing. I've got to get back to the Baratie though, he stated, even though his breathing was a bit harsh. The shark looked as if it didn't know whether it wanted to eat Yosaku or spit him out. I need to talk to Brother Luffy. Oh, tidal wave, here we go. Click. A GHH, Yosaku screeched as he and the shark suddenly went flying into the air. He nearly dropped the scared snail that was in his hands. Yosaku and the shark flew into the railing and landed atop a certain blonde-haired cook, finally dropping the snail onto the hard Baratie floors. Shouts of, Sanji, and, are you alright? And, is this guy a mermaid? Could be heard as the Den Mushi made its way towards a familiar face Luffy. Ah, Den. Luffy bent down and picked up the small snail. The rubber male had clearly just been through a tough battle. He had a few bruises here and there, but he looked fine overall. I thought I gave you to Usopp, what happened? Brother Luffy, Yosaku cried, holding up a thumbs up, I found you. What the hell? Sanji muttered. Is this idiot seriously halfway inside a panda shark? One of the cooks muttered as they helped pull Sanji away from him. Yosaku. Luffy blinked. What are you doing here alone? Where's everyone? Where's Nami? Yosaku sat down in a chair, heaving a heavy sigh. We couldn't catch up with Sister Nami. But judging from the direction she took, I'm pretty sure I know where she's heading. Okay, good. Luffy scratched his head, then let's go get her. Ah. Yosaku shook his head. But she is going to a dangerous place. The most dangerous place in all of the East Blue. I'll fill you in on the details later. Right now we need your strength. Please, lend us your hand. Yosh, Luffy nodded. I don't know what's going on, but okay. Hold on there. Sanji leaned against a wall, his arms crossed over his chest, and a cigarette in his mouth. Take me with you. The male looked as if he too had been through a tough battle. He had a bandage across his nose, lots of cuts and scrapes, and his hair was a little ruffled. Sanji. The cook stared at him in shock. I'll accompany you on your quest to become Pirate King, Sanji stated. After all, we both have crazy dreams. I might as well tag along. I'll be the cook for your ship. Does that sound good, or bad? Luffy raised his hands into the air, the Den Mushi sitting on his shoulder. Sounds great, he shouted. The rubber male ran over to Yosaku, after putting the snail back onto the ground, and the two lapsed into some idiotic dance. Alright, Brother Luffy, Yosaku cheered. We have a cook, Luffy shouted. Finally, food, meat, adventure. Sanji smiled, placing his hands into his pockets as he stared at his fellow cooks. That's how it's gonna be, guys. Sorry for all the damn trouble I've put you through. HMPH. One of the cooks, Patty, snorted. I don't like this at all. I wanted to throw you out of here with my own hands, but now you decide that you want to leave? Tisk. Sorry for making you put on that shitty act, Sanji added, narrowing his eyes at Patty. I could hear you all crystal clear from outside, you idiots. Sanji turned to stare at Zeph. And you? You wanted to kick me out that badly, huh? Stop talking like that. Talk about overconfidence, Patty shouted, his teeth becoming fanged out. That's exactly right, you little eggplant, Zeph stated. I've always hated little brats. Not a day goes by in which I regret having ever saved your ass. Whatever you say, old geezer. Enjoy the last years you have left. Click. Luffy sat on the ship Zeph had given to him, next to Yosaku, with the snail in his lap. Sanji was walking towards the ship at a casual pace, his eyes downcast as he was obviously deep in thought. Suddenly Patty and Carne jumped up, weapons in their hands, and rushed towards Sanji. "This is payback for all those years," Patty shouted. "Die, Sanji," Carne added as the two closed in on the blonde-haired male. Seconds later, the two cooks were on the ground with bumps on their heads and missing a few teeth. Sanji just continued to walk towards the ship, as if he hadn't just beat up two of the ship's best cooks. "Told ya you couldn't beat em," one of the cooks shook his head, smiling widely. "Let's go," Sanji said, standing in front of Luffy with a small smile on his face. Just like that, Luffy tilted his head to the side. "What about goodbyes?" "It's fine," Sanji replied. "There's no need." "Oi Sanji," Chef Zeph called, making the curly-eyebrowed cook freeze. "Don't catch a cold," he said, a small smile on his face. Sanji's eyes began to well with tears, his emotional barrier breaking. He turned around to face the man who took care of him for so long, owner Zeph. Sanji got onto his hands and knees and bowed. "I'm eternally grateful to you, for taking care of me for so damn long. I shall never forget, for the rest of my life, the debt I owe to you for saving my life." All around Sanji the cooks were bursting into tears at Sanji's declaration. "Damn you Sanji, you bastard, we're gonna miss you. You're making us cry, damn it, damn idiots," Zeph muttered, a few tears making their way down his own cheeks. Real men should say their goodbyes in silence. "Let's meet again one day," Sanji cried. You good-for-nothing bastards." "Alright," Luffy shouted. "Let's set sail." Click. "Oi, Yosaku. Shut up and be cheerful already," Luffy stated, folding his arms over his chest. "How long are you gonna cry?" "I can't help it," Yosaku sobbed. It was a truly beautiful goodbye, brother cook, beautiful enough to bring tears to any man's eyes. "Oi," Sanji's sweat dropped, waving his hand. "Shut up." "Ah." Luffy stretched, giving the Den Den Mushi in Sanji's lap a large grin. "I can't wait to bring Nami back so we can head to the Grand Line." "But even with Nami, that's still only 5 people, right? Do you really plan on going to the Grand Line with 5 people?" Sanji pointed out. "It's a bit strange, and you'll regret it if you underestimate the seas. If I need more crew members, I'll just find more in the Grand Line. Besides, we are headed towards paradise anyway, aren't we?" "Don't you mean a pirate's graveyard?" Sanji rolled his eyes. "You got a few screws loose, Luffy." She. Luffy laughed with his eyes closed. "But before I left the ship, Zeph told me that some people call the Grand Line." He opened his eyes, showing his obvious excitement. "A paradise." "The geezer said that, eh?" Sanji lit up another cigarette. "Well, as long as Nami is there." He blushed, placing his cheek into the palm of his hand as he daydreamed about the pirate navigator. "I'd sure call it a paradise with her here." "You two are just too dense," Yosaku shouted. "How naive can you get? Do you really know that little about the Grand Line?" "Oh." He stopped crying. Luffy said. "Not the point here." Yosaku deadpanned. "You two need to learn just what kind of place Sister Nami is heading towards. You need to know that it's the most dangerous place in the East BL. That island is probably scarier than Don Krieg." "Sanji, I'm hungry." "Alright. I'll go make some food to fill our stomachs," Sanji replied, letting the snail slip off his lap before standing up. "Oi," Yosaku sobbed once again. They aren't even listening anymore. "Hey now. The reason why the Grand Line is called a pirate's graveyard is because of the 3 great powers that rule over it. And one of those 3 great powers are the 7 warlords." Yosaku sighed. "Simply put, they are 7 pirates that are officially authorized by the world government." "That's dumb," Sanji stated. "Why would the government ever permit pirates?" "Because they are strong. In fact, the man who took down Brother Zoro was one of them, Mihawk." There are 7 of those guys?" Luffy's eyes shone like stars. "They are so cool?" "But the problem lies with another one of those warlords. The leader of the Fishman pirates, Jinbei." "Fishman? Never met one," Luffy bluntly declared. "Fishman? Isn't Fishman Island a famous travel destination in the Grand Line?" Sanji smiled, a blush once again adorning his cheeks. "I heard that they have the most beautiful mermaids in the world," he gushed. "Oi." Yosaku looked at the Den Mushi with fake tears streaming down his cheeks. Are they even listening to me? In return for joining the warlords, Jinbei let loose a terrible monster in the East Blue. Like this? Luffy held up a crudely drawn picture of a fish with 4 arms. Haha. Sanji bursted into laughter. That's one ugly fish. Is it physically impossible for you to pay attention? Yosaku facepalmed. Alright, let's skip the history lecture. The place we are headed towards is Arlong Park. A place ruled by Arlong, who's a fishman who could take on even Jinbei. He's far more powerful than even Don Krieg. How about this? Luffy held up another crude drawing of a fish. All you did was draw your previous drawing, but with him standing up. Sanji stated. But I wonder what Nami has to do with those fishmen. Could she possibly be a mermaid? That would explain everything. What exactly would that explain? Yosaku's sweat dropped. Like this? Luffy held up the same drawing, except now the fish had hair to make it seem like a mermaid. No, Sanji shouted. Idiot, click. Alright. I guess I should cook something now. Sanji stood up. What do you guys want to eat? Meat. Stir-fried bean sprouts, leave it to me. Ah. Luffy grinned. It sure is great to have a cook around to make delicious food for us. I wish I was making delicious food for the beautiful Nami Swan, Sanji muttered. Click. Here's the pay for this month. A large blue hand slammed a stack of cash onto a table. Take it. Thank you. Chi. You sure do know how to get by in this world. Arlong. A man with a mouse-like marine cap and whiskers stated, happily accepting the cash. Shahahaha. Arlong laughed darkly. What are you being so reserved for? As they say, money makes the world go round. What the hell is that? Yosaku shouted, visibly shaking in his seat. The Den Mushi lazily glanced up and stared at whatever had spooked Yosaku out. There was a large monster with green and white spots, large eyes, horns, and a nose ring. Eh? Is that another sea monster? Luffy blinked, shoving another piece of meat into his mouth, obviously not caring about the threat the sea monster posed. Wait, maybe it's a cow? A cow? And it swims? Doesn't that just make it? Sanji's face became grave. A hippo? Oi! Yosaku's sweat dropped. Are you that serious about it? And anyway, what's a creature like this doing in the East Blue? It gives me a bad feeling. The sea monster seemed to be sniffing, narrowing its large black eyes on the food sitting on the table. What's the matter, Yosaku? Luffy asked, still chewing on his meat. That creature is a monster from the Grand Line, Yosaku shouted in reply. The sea creature sniffed once again, louder this time, its eyes now directly on the food sitting on the table. He bent down, taking in the aroma of the delicious-smelling food. It must want the food, Yosaku muttered, glancing at the table. Brother Luffy, brother Cook, hurry up and give him the food before he overturns the ship. Luffy stood up then. He glared at the large sea monster. Gomu no. His arm shot out quicker than Yosaku and Sanji's eyes could track. But the Den Mushi could see when his fist hit the sea monster directly. Pistol, don't you dare touch my food. You did it, brother Luffy. That was amazing, Yosaku shouted, fist pumping. The monster shot up out of the ocean, seething and roaring in absolute rage. Oh. Looks like he's still pissed, Yosaku muttered, dejected. I'll just sock him again, Luffy stated before he and Yosaku were hit over the head with the bottom of Sanji's feet. You dumbasses, don't beat up something that only wants food. If he's hungry we should just feed him, Sanji bellowed. The small snail blinked lazily. He had seen this happen often with this strange crew, so he wasn't shocked in the least. Especially since he was getting free food out of it. I'm sure it's injured somewhere so it can't find its own food, right? Sanji stated, picking up a plate of food and holding it out to the sea monster. Here, eat up. The monster bent down, opening its mouth wide and showing off its sharp, white teeth, only to receive a kick to the jaw seconds later by none other than Sanji. Die, he yelled, his teeth becoming fanged out in a comedic way. What was that? Yosaku shouted. That thing was about to take a bite out of me too, Sanji sighed. The monster shot up from out of the ocean once again, this time only seeing red as he charged for the ship. It's coming to sink the ship. Yosaku grabbed the scared snail, holding him in his arms. Brother Luffy. I'm on it, Luffy replied, getting his arm ready. "No, move aside," Sanji stated, taking a long drag from his cigarette. "I'll deal with him myself." Sanji shot forward, running up the mast of the ship and jumping off towards the raging sea monster. "Kolour," Sanji muttered, his eyes narrowing. The others watched on in awe, their eyes shining bright like stars. "Shoot," he called, hitting the hippo in its throat with a harsh kick. The monster sputtered out blood and flew away, landing into the ocean with a loud explosion of water. It didn't come out anymore. "Yosh," Luffy smiled at the Den Den Mushi, "let's eat." Sanji came down and sat next to Luffy, dusting off his suit in the process. That was a nice exercise. "These people are insane." Yosaku looked at the Den Den Mushi with a deadpanned expression. Click. "Woohoo," Luffy grinned, pumping a fist into the air. "These people are seriously crazy," Yosaku shouted, face-palming repeatedly. The Den Den Mushi was seated on Luffy's shoulder, enjoying the rush of wind. The sea monster that they had beat up earlier was pulling their ship towards their destination at a fast pace. He had a large bump protruding from his head, and looked as if he wanted to wail. "Full speed to Arlong Park," Luffy yelled happily, the snail on his shoulder bobbing its head in delight. Click. "Hey, I can see Arlong Park," Sanji called, pointing ahead, "over there." "Moo," the sea monster that was steering them towards Arlong Park suddenly moaned. "Hey, don't get tired now. You hippo," Sanji shouted in frustration. "I think it's because of the beating you and brother Luffy gave him earlier, Brother Cook," Yosaku pointed out. The large creature began to swerve, turning towards the shore instead of the large building. "Hey," Luffy yelled, "it's this building, where y'all going?" "We're gonna crash," Yosaku sobbed, clinging to Sanji. Even the Den Den Mushi was shaking a little, and Luffy was also looking unnerved. The hippo crashed into the shore and the boat, along with the 3 males and snail aboard it, were sent flying through the air. "Yahoo!" Luffy shouted, holding the snail up so that it could take in the sights of the trees and the hard ground around it. "It's like we're really flying." Sanji growled. "That's because we are sent flying, you idiot." "We're gonna die," Yosaku sobbed, clinging to the ship's main mast. "We're gonna fall and die." They eventually did fall, but it did nothing to stop them from continuously moving forward. They sped past large trees and bushes, seemingly going downhill. "Auuuo," Luffy stopped mid-scream. "Zoro? Bro," Yosaku cried. "Luffy?" Zoro stared in shock as the ship swept him up, and he was soaring down the trail along with Sanji, Yosaku, Luffy, and the Den Den Mushi. Except Zoro was stuck to the front of the ship. They finally crashed into a bunch of trees close to another shore. The ship was in ruins, and it seemed like the only ones who came out unscathed were Luffy, Sanji, and the snail. Yosaku had his head stuck in a pile of the broken pieces of the ship. "What the hell did you idiots think you were doing?" Zoro yelled, nursing the bump protruding from his head. "Whoops. My bad," Luffy replied, smiling as the snail lazily crawled onto his shoulder. Click. "Say that again, one more time." Luffy grabbed Johnny by his shirt, no longer smiling his silly little smile. "And I'll kick your ass." "Luffy, stop," Yosaku cried. "It's not as if Johnny is the one at fault here." "Well, he's making up bullcrap," Luffy replied angrily. The Den Den Mushi was seated on Sanji's shoulder, shaking just a little at the sight of the pissed-off Luffy. He wasn't used to seeing the future Pirate King so pissed off. "Luffy," Sanji muttered. "There's no way that Nami would kill Usopp," Luffy angrily bellowed. "We're crewmates, we're nakama." "It's fine if you don't want to believe me," Johnny stated, tears flowing down his cheeks. "But I saw it with my own eyes." "Just who did you call your nakama, Luffy?" Nami stepped towards the little group, her arms crossed under her small bust. "Nami," Luffy muttered, staring at his navigator as she approached. "What did you guys come to this island for?" she asked, pulling out her long staff and leaning against it. "What are you talking about?" Luffy stood up and let go of the sobbing Johnny. "We're crewmates, aren't we? We came to get you." "Tisk. You're nothing but a nuisance." Nami rolled her eyes. "And, crewmates, nakama. Don't make me laugh. It was nothing but a stupid little alliance." "Nami," Sanji grinned. "It's me, do you remember me? Let's set sail together." "Shut up," Zoro glared at the love cook. Can't you see that you're making things more complicated by butting in? What was that, you shitty Marimo? Sanji glared right back at him. I told you, she's a witch, Johnny shouted, standing up to point an accusing finger at Nami. Zoro and Sanji halted their argument to look at Johnny. If it means she can get her hands on the treasure hidden in the village, she'll gladly join the Arlong pirates and even kill innocent people. Johnny glared at Nami. She's just a cold-blooded witch through and through. You've all been deceived, Sink. Johnny shook his head at the Den mushi perched on Sanji's shoulder. She murdered Usopp. And, would you like to avenge him? Nami questioned them, putting her hand onto her hip. Let me tell you idiots one thing. After that idiotic stunt that Zoro pulled, Arlong wants Roronoa Zoro and all his companions dead. No matter how strong you all may be, you are no match for Arlong and his crew of fishmen. I couldn't care less about that, Zoro replied. Where's Usopp? Where's Usopp? Nami smirked. Why? He's at the bottom of the ocean. I did kill him, hee hee. Click. Oi. Zoro. What, do you think Nami really killed Usopp? Sanji asked, placing a hand on the head of the small snail resting on his knee. Sanji was leaning against a tree, and across from him sat Zoro and Luffy, who was laying on the ground. Who knows, Zoro muttered. Maybe after I called her a small fry she got pissed and really did kill him. I wouldn't put it past her. Seconds later Zoro and Sanji were lunging at each other. Nami's breasts aren't small, Sanji shouted. Is that all you can think about? Oh. The butt of Zoro's sword and Sanji's foot were on both sides of Usopp's cheeks. He's alive, Sanji stated in surprise, but maybe not anymore, Zoro muttered. Click. Usopp, you're alive, Luffy cried. Eh? What's with your face? Who did this to you? Ah, that was actually him and I, Sanji stated, pointing at Zoro. You mean just you? Zoro replied. Ah, you guys are all here. Usopp smiled as the snail crawled up his arm and onto his shoulder. Even you, Love Cook? I've decided to come along too. Nice to meet you, Sanji smiled innocently. Whatever. In any case, the problem is Nami. She saved my life, Usopp declared. Nani? Luffy blinked in surprise. If you ask me, there must be a reason behind her joining the Arlong pirates. It's useless. A female with short, curly blue hair and big, dark eyes approached the group. No matter what you do you won't be able to change Arlong's rule. Who's she? Luffy asked. That's Nami's sister, Nijiko. Usopp replied. She's beautiful, Sanji gushed. What do you mean by useless? Zoro asked. Please don't involve yourselves with this village any further. I'll tell you about how things got this way. Nijiko sighed. So in return I want you to just leave quietly. Click.